Hi, I'm Greg Denny. I want to share kind of a funny and interesting story. I'm out traveling right now. I'm in a place I've never been before. And so obviously in a neighborhood I've never been, around people I've never met. And I'm staying at a friend's house. And he said, he told me that his neighbor was really awesome. So I'm like, I'm gonna go meet the neighbor. All right, so I just walk over, knock on the door, and start talking, and just have a strike of conversation. Now, side note, man, I used to be so timid and so scared and so afraid to talk to people. Just that idea would have terrified me. And I love it now. I love meeting new people. I love getting out, creating new friendships. And just go to a totally stranger's house, knock on the door, and be like, hey, let's strike up a conversation here. So I just introduced so we start talking. We ended up talking for hours. And I feel like I made some great friends and just really wonderful people. But I wanted to share what we ended up talking about. We got so passionate about it, so excited about it. We were talking into the night. And it was about the idea of creating a life that you love, right? And creating an existence on your terms and removing the limits and the things you dislike and the things that are holding you back. And there's ways to do that. And I've gone from being timid and shy and terrified, living in fear and scarcity, homeless, right, friendless, familyless, really living in hell for years. I grew up in a broken home. I was out on my own at an early age. Those were hard times. And I went from that existence, if you can imagine that, kind of sense that for a minute, to the life I have now, where we get to live abroad and travel around the world with my beautiful, wonderful wife, who I cherish and love so much. And we have 6 wonderful children. And we're out serving and trying to make a difference in the world and trying to live really deliberately and purposefully, trying to get the most out of life. And we're working on ourselves, and we're overcoming our weaknesses and improving on our strengths. And we're living an epic life. We love it. I just wake up in the morning just excited to live and grateful to be alive and to be living this kind of life. It's awesome. But it doesn't happen by accident. And it's not the default. We have to be intentional about it. And that's what we ended up talking about. And so I want to give you a couple of tips, a couple of ideas, a couple of things that have worked for me. I think first and foremost, you have to work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. Most of that comes down to educating yourself, really getting a solid education. Now, don't just automatically default and think that's school. You have to go back to school or something or get a degree or certificate. It's not. And education is on all levels. We have to educate our desires. We have to educate our passions. We have to educate our emotions. We have to educate our mind, of course, our thinking patterns and habits. We have to educate our actual habits and our actions. We have to alter our character, our attitude. We have to educate our attitude. We have to educate ourselves in all those ways, and input determines output. And so what we ended up talking about was like, okay, what new skills are you learning? What new knowledge are you gaining? How are you setting yourself up to be a linchpin? And if you haven't read Linchpin by Seth Godin, please read that book. It's excellent. How are you setting up multiple streams of income so that if one dries up, another one's there? Or you just have multiples and they just keep flowing and you live an abundant existence. And we're not talking about working more. We're talking about working less, but earning more. And I know that it kind of seems wrong, right? Hey, wait a minute. No, we're supposed to be working hard. No, we're supposed to be creating incredible value in the marketplace, improving people's lives, and they're more than willing to send you money and pay for your services or your products or the value you bring to them. So what are you doing to create that lifestyle? Right? I don't think anyone should have to work long days and long weeks. Of course, there are times and seasons for that. When we're creating a new course, man, we work hard and we hit it. But most of the time, we have plenty of free time to spend with each other, my wife and I, and with our children, with our friends, out traveling, reading great books, learning new skills, working on ourselves. We've got to have the time freedom and the money freedom to do those things. So what are you working on? What are you going to work on? I met another lady today who wants to share her message. She wants to help people. And I said, okay, what are you going to do? How are you going to set yourself up to succeed? And we talked about how she needs to get an outlet. She needs to start a website or a blog. She needs to start speaking to people and sharing her message and getting it out there, instead of just sitting back waiting and hoping that her ship comes in, because it won't. You got to swim out and get it. And that's my point. And the challenge is, you're like, yeah, I'm already so busy. When do I fit that in? Well, what's worked for me, and I've done this for many, many years, is I have those morning rituals, the things I do every morning, and I don't miss, and I get up early. I realized if I want to still spend lots of time with my wife and our children and in church and in work and in service, and if I still want to work on myself, then I have to get up really early. That's what I chose for me. That's what works for me. So my alarm goes off every morning at 4. And so I get up and I study and I learn, and I'm constantly improving myself. And I can't even tell you how many doors have been opened, how many opportunities have come simply because I get up and I work on myself every day. And you do that for years, and there's opportunity everywhere. And you have new skills and new abilities, right? And new mindsets, new knowledge base. And what that does, it frees you to choose your path and write your own ticket. It's awesome. And so going from where I was as a young man in the streets all alone with nothing, to living the life I'm living now and doing great things that are exciting and wonderful and fulfilling and meaningful is awesome. And if I can do it, you can do it. I know you can. You have gifts and talents. You have genius in you that you need to share with the world. And it's an exciting time to be alive, and never has it been easier. And you're like, oh, the market's saturated, and oh, I can't do it, and oh, we come up with all these excuses, but successful people do it anyways. And they do the hard things that unsuccessful people don't want to do. So my challenge to you today is find out what you're going to do and start working on it. And it all starts here. It all starts with you. Work harder on yourself than you do on anything else, and it will create an abundance, even where others are experiencing scarcity, and they're hurting and they're struggling and they don't know what to do, and they think there's not enough to go around. You're a linchpin, and you create opportunities, and you make things happen, and you live a life that you absolutely love. Reach upward.